Jim, let's stay on the topic of things that are happening in and around the world of wrestling as we are recording. Word came out yesterday that Jeff Hardy had again been arrested. I believe it's a DUI, and he was also, was it drug and alcohol on his possession as well? I got to go back to the charges here. I have it, but.
Well, no, there was no drugs that what I read was basically he was pulled over for weaving on and off the road and erratic driving or whatever, and he smelled like alcohol, could not pass any of the functions of the physical test they give you. And, you know, they picked him up and gave him a test, and his blood alcohol level came back at a disturbing level. Nobody said anything about drugs. I don't know if there was an open container in the car. I don't know whether I read that or not, but they got him on several charges because he's got no fucking license. And
well, Jim, I have an article here. This is from the New York Post because it sums up a lot of the things that we'll probably have some questions about. So we'll talk about it again in a second. By Ryan Glasspiegel, or excuse me.
What did you? Is that English? What did you just say?
Actually, I said it wrong. By Ryan Glasspiegel, here in the New York Post, AEW star Jeff Hardy arrested on DUI charge with more than triple legal BAC limit, say the cops. Professional wrestling legend Jeff Hardy has been arrested for alleged DUI in Florida. Volusia, is that how you say that?
Volusia, yes.
Volusia County Jail records show Hardy was booked at 12:45 a.m. on Monday and charged with DUI, alcohol, drugs, third offense within 10 years, and driving with a suspended or revoked license. He is being held on $3,500 bond. I believe he's been bailed out now. According to TMZ, police documents say Hardy had a blood alcohol content more than 3 times the legal limit of 0.08, registering 0.294 and 0.291 on 2 readings. Cops also said, according to TMZ, that they received 4 calls about a poor driving pattern from Hardy's white Dodge Charger, which was traveling well under the speed limit when police tracked him down. Hardy was said to be in a stupor and confused. Per the report, Hardy, 44, currently wrestles in All Elite Wrestling. He and his brother Matt were scheduled for a ladder match with the Young Bucks and Jurassic Express for this Wednesday's episode of AEW Dynamite. Hardy has a long documented history of struggles with substance abuse, and it goes into a little bit of it from there.
Well, I mean, everybody can make a mistake. Having said that, when you make 3 of those mistakes in a 5-year calendar period, it was 2018, 2019, and now 2022. And then when you, on top of that, make that mistake while you're in a car that he doesn't live in Florida, he lives in North Carolina. Did he drive down there instead of fly? Possibly, but if so, did he, with no license, did he drive from North Carolina to Florida to make the shows that he was going to do, and then he gets picked up, or was somebody supposed to be with him? Or is this a rental car? How did he rent a car with no driver's license? He did some kind of show on Sunday night, one of the concerts or whatever he does. I saw that. Do you have any information on that, where he was on Sunday night? Because he was at some advertised event.
Yeah, I have something here. This is from a Wrestling Inc. article by Ross Berman. It says,
okay, well, the point I was going to ask is, who was he with? Because how by 12:30 did he leave the event that he was with friends or somebody he was working for or whatever? Did nobody know that he doesn't have a driver's license? How hard is that to figure out? What kind of condition was he in when he left them? And how by 12:30 did he get in that fucking state by himself, driving in a car in Florida with a blood alcohol level higher than what Tammy's was when she just killed this guy, allegedly?
Yeah, this is Tammy without the death. I mean, that's really a way to look at it, because it really could have gone wrong. And You shouldn't be drinking and driving, especially when it keeps
apparently
happening.
not when he was going 15 miles an hour down the road, but that was probably a red flag for somebody to call attention to him.
Here, from this article, it says Hardy had reportedly spent the previous night at the Orlando, Florida Dave & Buster's, where Hardy performed an acoustic set, as well as held photo opportunities for fans, and finally hit up the Slam Down 7 convention with various wrestling legends. All events were promoted through Glamour Under the Stars. I don't know who they are. And here's a picture from the convention of Matt and Jeff with Devon Dudley. And this was posted. Matt Hardy posted this 11:27 p.m.
Well, but when he posted doesn't mean when he took it. Devon lives in Florida,
right?
I believe. But so that Matt was there. What is a slam down convention? Is that a wrestling convention or some kind of video game convention or whatever?
Sounds like just another run-of-the-mill convention.
But the point is, what I guess I do not hate the Hardys. I feel bad for the Hardys. When Matt started teleporting a few years ago, I kind of at that point, I had to wash my hands of it. I've always had great things to say about everybody as far as their talent and their working ability before. But goddamn, at this point now, which came first, the chicken or the egg? He's obviously had a problem with substances, but is it because of all of the ridiculous shit that he's done to his body? Is he medicating? Or did he start doing all the ridiculous shit to his body because he was doing all the other shit? I don't know which came first, but at some point, a man in his mid-40s with a history of substance abuse problems and injuries and concussions and who knows what the fuck else has got to stop doing some of the things that he's been doing. And Jeff Hardy got to the point in wrestling where he was a big enough star that he does not have to randomly do swantons on steel ring stairs as a transition spot in a match, or just a way to, we'll get Jeff out of it. Hey, Jeff, take a swanton on the stairs. That'll give you a reason to sell for a little while. Whatever. Is that exacerbating whatever the fuck else he's doing? And again, he didn't flunk the drug test in the WWE, and we made fun of him for that, running off one of their biggest stars for a phantom drug test that he didn't flunk. But what was his mental condition for just wandering off into people was, nobody said he was drunk, but how many concussions has he had? What's going on with his decision making? Can somebody... I know, you can't be your brother's keeper, but Matt...
How many concussions has he had? I mean, that's the problem.
But Matt was there. Hey, Jeff, you can't get in a car and drive because you got no license. Did he sneak off? Well, sometimes
whose car
people
was
do that.
You said the big question. Whose car was it?
There couldn't have been anybody else in the car with him, or he wouldn't have been the one driving. I'm surprised he was conscious. So what is everybody just, okay, the show's over and Jeff says, well, how can you what time was this convention over?
I don't have that information. I've been looking for that, actually.
Was it a nighttime thing? Because
the way this article had it sounded like he did the Dave & Buster stuff and then went to the convention, but that doesn't sound right. You would think the Dave & Buster's thing was the way he was ending the night at the bar, performing his acoustic songs.
Performing I don't know which came first again, and I know if somebody's going to do something, they're going to do it. There's a story, PG-13, Jamie Dundee, JC Ice, and Wolfie D. They came in, and Wolfie was supposed to keep an eye on Jamie so he'd get up next morning and go to the TV. And they come in from a town on Friday night, go to the hotel room, and both get in bed, and Wolfie wakes up fucking 5 o'clock in the morning to piss, and Jamie ain't there. So, people go and do things, but, you know what? Everybody just left him alone to his own devices. Even if he wasn't intoxicated, that's the word for the week, at the time that everybody last saw him, how did anybody let him get in a car when they ought to know? Matt, I'm sure, would know if he was there. Some people ought to know. Most people ought to know. He don't have a license. He's had 2 DUIs, before. So the point is, I think he's not only got to quit potentially drinking, but potentially punishing his body, especially like he's been doing more crazy, stupid things since he showed up at AEW 2 months ago than he was doing in the WWE, because they won't let you do shit like that because it's not worth the risk. Whether it was that ladder dive thing he came off of, or like I said, the swanton on the stairs, or there's been 3 or 4 things he's done just since he's got to AEW that, what the fuck? You're as close to 50 as you are to 40. And unless he's the best seller in the history of wrestling, he looks like he's in pain when he's in the ring.
And again, this is not someone who had a drink too many, didn't realize they were going to hit a breathalyzer, and no one got hurt. This is now multiple times. And that's where I lose any sympathy for the person. Because it could have been a situation like the Tammy one. It could have been a family out there. It could have been a kid trying to cross the street at 12:45 at night, but whatever. Could have been something else.
What kind of neighborhood that kid live in, maybe. But no, the point is...
So I got no sympathy. Like, there has to be a repercussion at some point. It can't just be, okay, let him out, and then it happens again.
It couldn't be at that point like, I think I'm okay. 3.5 times, it would be way past, I think I'm okay to drive. You're not okay to drive under any circumstance anyway because you don't have a license. You're in the state of Florida, which has just gotten bad publicity on the wrestling business because of Tammy being a fucking sociopath. And
that's where Jimmy Uso keeps getting, I think it's Jimmy. That's where Jimmy Uso keeps getting busted too. It's in Florida.
Yes, and boy, and it certainly immediately comes to light whenever it happens because the Florida authorities, no, another wrestler, here come TMZ, speed dial. But that's what I'm saying is you can't drive under any circumstances. It's not a question of, well, I think I'm okay at that point. It's happened before. You're in a state that's gotten bad publicity. You've just started with a new company. And even if they've botched the Hardy Boys reunion and devalued them greatly, Jeff's still a recognizable star. And now the AEW publicity of the week is, well, this fucking guy was so drunk he could have been goddamn preserved in pickle brine and wouldn't have been any stiffer. And he's out driving around menacing the public highways. That's the company's publicity for it. Why would you wouldn't make that decision if you were thinking about any of the decisions you're supposed to be making. If he ended up someplace that he knew he might have a drink, why didn't he have his transportation covered? He's a fucking star. If he was working for somebody, I'm pretty sure they would have come and picked him up. That's one of the jobs that a lot of these unpaid assistants fight over on these indie shows and conventions, is who gets to pick up their favorite wrestling star. So it's not like, oh no, I'm too busy to pick up Jeff Hardy, dude. I'm sitting here fucking yanking. What? So he didn't plan ahead. He got someplace somehow in a car that he's going to drive, and then drinks on top of that, and then whatever. So
let me ask you this. What should AEW's reaction to all of this be? And should there be any repercussions on that front? I'm sure there will be, but what is the proper thing? Is it a release? Is it a suspension? Is it another program? What should AEW do? And they're in a bad position here. They didn't do anything to be put in this position other than hire him.
Well, the good part about the position is that if they do have to break up the Hardy Boys, at least it's not going to cost them any money because they've already killed that fucking golden goose. As we've mentioned, if they were just 2 more guys on the card now because of this insane introduction and way that they were booked. So it's not going to cost them a fortune either way. What it has done is put shit all over their face. And now Tony Khan I know it's a national promotion, and they're not based in Florida, except that he's based in Florida, but he's got a Florida fucking professional sports team. And here in this state, as I said, that's already got the bad publicity with Tammy and Jimmy Uso. Now his company gets bad publicity in what's his home state, and what kind of precedent that he sets here determines what else happens in the future. What happens if Joe Dipshit on his roster gets a DUI and gets bad publicity, and he's, well, fuck you, you're fired. Well, you didn't fire Jeff Hardy. Well, he's a star, and you're not. Well, then that guy may say, well, then I'll just get a fucking attorney. We're not even ready for the Stephen P. New spot yet. But, or, it's going to cause problems if a guy makes the newspapers, gets arrested, endangering the public, furthering the stereotypical image of all wrestlers as drunken, pilled up, steroid freak bums, and in their home state, and it makes papers all over the place, and he doesn't take some kind of punitive action, then he's telling everybody else on the roster, okay, you can get away with it if you're at Jeff Hardy level or above in my eyes, but below, I'm going to do something to you. I didn't do something to him. It opens the proverbial can of peas. And besides that, we know what the answer is going to be if he says, hey, Jeff, I won't fire you, go to rehab. So that question has kind of been answered.
Do we know that? Because Jeff may not have another place to go to at this point.
Well, he can go home. He's not destitute.
But is that
He's made a fucking fuck ton of money in his life.
And he still wants to do acoustic gigs at Dave & Buster's.
Because he's to the point now where when you get enough money and one career is winding down, if you have the go-gettedness for it and the contacts and everything, he's wanted to be a rock and roll musician. I've never heard a single goddamn thing. I don't know whether I would like it or not. But, you got to start at the bottom, but he has the money to do that. It's like Mick Foley did the comedy clubs. He does shows on occasion now, but he was doing a real regular schedule here several years ago, not because he needed the money, but just he wanted to keep his mind sharp, from the concussions, and, he enjoyed it. And that maybe Jeff he doesn't need the money for Dave & Buster's, but he wants to do the acoustic music or whatever the case. But he needs to take care of, he doesn't need to be doing the Jeff Hardy matches that he's been doing for his body. If he's going to get off of anything he's on, alcohol, any type of, pain medication, or, fucking blood pressure medicine, fucking cholesterol medicine, anything he's on he wants to get off of, it would not be conducive to that to be taking bumps off ladders through fucking tables on concrete as he's nearing 50. And therein lies the problem that a lot of guys who insist on doing this are going to have at some point is, do you continue wrestling and adapt your style? Do you have the personality? Do you have the verbal ability? Do you have the mental concept of how to adapt what you do to still stay over and give the people their money's worth, but not destroy your body? And Jeff may or may not have those things, but I haven't seen him try to change that style to do anything else.
So once again, what should AEW do?
Well, I'm saying they got to do something, but it remains to be seen what Jeff will want to do. If I was Tony, I'd say, well, okay, now, yeah, I got to say the same thing. The only way that we can get this shit off our face from a PR standpoint, because everybody likes Jeff. The boys like him and the fans like him. He's a likable person. He's never pissed anybody off per se that I know.
And I think that's why people aren't as angry as they probably should be. Because if it was someone who was a complete, jerk to people like Cammy was for years, it's easier to hate them.
Well, yeah, but then do you hate him? That's why you want him to kill himself or somebody else, or do you like him and he hadn't pissed you off, and that's why you'd like him not to kill himself or somebody else? So whichever way you look at it, to me, I would say if I was Tony, Jeff, everybody loves you, and you're a big star, and there's no reason to be ending up in the newspaper for shit like this. But now it's cost company bad publicity. So you will, like Moxley, you will be the biggest baby face to everybody involved in this whole situation. If you just say, well, obviously, even if I don't have a problem with anything else, I've got a problem with my decision making because I did shit I shouldn't have done and put myself and other people in danger. So I'm voluntarily going to go for 3 weeks or 4 weeks or however long it is to such and such place that Moxley went or anywhere else he wants to go, where they can talk to me about the decisions that I made and maybe tell me whether or not they think that I have an issue with alcohol, since I just got arrested out in public on the fucking highways for embalming fluid level of alcohol in my system. Or I got to fire you.
What would you do?
What, if I was Tony or if I was Jeff?
If you were Tony.
That's what I would do.
You'd fire him?
No, I'd say go to rehab. We will make you the biggest baby face in the world for addressing your issue. Everybody loves you and they're predisposed to want to be on your side. And then we can bring you back and hopefully bigger and better than ever and not let you goddamn fracture yourself.
You can't do that because the difference is Moxley. We never heard any stories about Moxley almost endangering someone else's life. We didn't hear really too much publicly. There's always been stories, but publicly there wasn't too much until he announced he was going to rehab to get help. Jeff Hardy, if you do that, you give him the Ken Patera treatment. He comes out of prison, he's a babyface, and then he gets popped again the next day. And with him, you have to worry about that. This isn't, okay, this is a blip in the radar. Hopefully everything gets back to normal. There's enough instances of this where he's been caught, let alone times that he hasn't. It's hard to put faith in someone coming out of a program they may not even want to go to, that they're not going to do this again. If you build him up and try to say he's back and then he gets popped again within a month, you look awful.
Well, you may be right. Because I was thinking that this could be something that I was thinking everybody would have a level head and Jeff would consider this, you know what, he's right. I've made myself look like a shit sandwich and I've got negative publicity on myself and everybody else. So I'll do this and everybody will like me and then I'll straighten my shit up. But without that last line, you may be right. He might not look at it like one last chance to tell people that I'm not a fuck up. And then he might come back and do, in that case, maybe Tony ought to just fire him, I guess. You've talked me into it now.
Well, Jim, perhaps if there had been some diligent, concerned citizen with knowledge of the mechanics of a car who could have gone out and maybe disabled Jeff Hardy's motor or taken the tires right off the car.
That's what could have happened. Something like that could have prevented him, could have sabotaged the car and prevented him from taking that fateful trip.
A hero.
They would have been a hero. Folks, I'm telling you what, if there had been only somebody there with the knowledge and the ability to disable that vehicle, well, then Jeff could have been taken back to his hotel. But then the problem would have become, Brian, that there would have been a derelict vehicle in the parking lot of Dave & Buster's. And then it would have needed a part in order to be repaired, to be moved off that lot before it was towed and given to the city to smash in a monster truck show. And that's where the folks at rockauto.com come in. Folks, if you've got some drunken wrestler's disabled vehicle in your parking lot and you need a part for it so you can fix it and drive it the hell out of there, rockauto.com has them. They've also got all the parts your car or truck will ever need. If you need brake pads, if you need engine control modules, tail lamps, motor oil, new carpet, if you need a carb gasket projector, whatever you need for your car, truck, or motorized conveyance, you can find it on the online catalog known as rockauto.com. It's the only place you need to go. And they've got low prices, not only for the professionals, but the do-it-yourselfers. Why spend up to twice as much for the same parts? Now, some of you people, you'll probably spend twice as much later on when you get some professional to fix what you screwed up. But nevertheless, it's not rockauto.com's fault that you're an idiot. So you can go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts they've got available. And you write JCE in the How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you, because later on, there'll be a free gift. We're not telling you what it is or when you get it.
No, there's no free gift. Don't promise people that.
Will there be cake?
You and the cake. Didn't you just have enough cake?
Well, I need more cake. Well, anyway, just write JCE in the How Did You Hear About Us box anyway, but you'll be too busy giggling with giddy laughter as you open up the car and truck parts that are delivered to your door with a few easy clicks. rockauto.com. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
That's right. Well, let's move on. Let's rock on here with the show. Well, Jim, as we are recording the drive-thru here, and we've been talking about the latest stories in wrestling, one of them is actually still transpiring, or news of it is still disseminating or being disseminated out as we speak. As we are recording, the front page story, the lead story on TMZ, is Jeff Hardy, DUI arrest video, 3 officers pulled guns on wrestler during stop. You've had a chance to look this over and, of course, the accompanying video, correct?
Well, yes, we took a slight break when this broke, and apparently whatever I read at first was correct about the time of day that he was arrested. This was 9-something in the morning that he had a blood alcohol level 3.5 times the legal limit in broad daylight. This wasn't like in the middle of the night when you're under cover of darkness, there's nobody on the road, I may can get by with this. It was almost 10 o'clock in the fucking morning. And they apparently got 3 or 4 different 911 calls about a dangerous driver, which is why that not only one, but 3 policemen, 3 cops pulled him over because he'd been reported already by innocent bystanders.
Yeah, here's the article, Jim. As reported by TMZ, 3 officers were apparently so concerned about the state of Jeff Hardy after they pulled him over on Monday morning, they each drew their guns and pointed them at the AEW star. The frightening scene was all captured on police video obtained by TMZ Sports just before the 44-year-old wrestler was arrested in Volusia County for DUI by the Florida Highway Patrol. In the footage, you can see after cops stopped Hardy's white Dodge Charger on a freeway after they said it had been swerving all over the road and driving erratically, they walked to his car and appeared to shout orders at him through his closed windows. Hardy, though, seemingly didn't comply, which caused each officer on the scene to pull out their firearm. Fortunately, Hardy eventually opened his car door without issue, and the officers were able to get him out of his vehicle without incident.
And let's hold on. Let's stop there and say it. You could see them. They were saying, like, open the door, and he didn't want to open the door, so they pulled their guns. And I'm just thinking at that point he had to know, well, I'm not making a move. They probably won't shoot me because I'm white, but as soon as I open this door, I'm going to jail. So he was probably taking his last 30 seconds or a minute to go, fuck.
In the footage, you can see Hardy, wearing a Jacksonville Jaguars t-shirt, was not steady on his feet. Will you stop?
No, I'm not laughing at Jeff Hardy's misfortune. I'm laughing at how much worse can this be for Tony Khan if on the back of the Jaguar shirt it said Tony Khan wanks dogs. That's the only way it could have been any fucking worse.
Wearing a Jacksonville Jaguars t-shirt, was not steady on his feet, and mumbled and whispered responses to the officers. During questioning, Hardy appeared to admit to drinking shots of Fireball before getting behind the wheel.
It's fucking that early in the morning?
Once again, we'll say this right now, it was 9:54 a.m. that they officially arrested him, so I guess it would have been a little bit before that they pulled him over here. Right?
Yeah. It probably about, well, it's the video, they pulled him over on the side of the road, then they took him to a parking lot off the side of the busy highway because they couldn't hear him, and I guess he was, well, I don't guess because I saw it on video, he was unsteady. I guess they were afraid he was going to fall out into the street. So it took a while.
And as it says here, eventually officers took Hardy away from the busy highway into a nearby parking lot to perform field sobriety tests. Hardy, though, stumbled through each test, and after several minutes, an officer slapped cuffs on the wrestling star and told him he was under arrest for the offense of DUI. In police documents, officers say they tested Hardy's BAC through a breathalyzer back at the station and claim he blew a .291 and a .294. Hardy bonded out of jail late Monday evening, but was ultimately, according to court records, hit with 3 charges, including felony DUI as well as 2 misdemeanors. He's due in court for a hearing in the case later Tuesday afternoon.
Well, now, I got to be honest with you. I've already seen something on the internet somewhere that was canceled. So I have no idea. I don't know what the fuck's going on. But that early in the morning, Jesus Christ, you know, I don't know what else to say that we didn't say earlier. It just this makes it even worse. He drove apparently from North Carolina. I guess he was by himself because Matt wasn't in the car at this point.
Well, let me just clarify, because you just said that. The officers ask him, and it is hard to hear him at times because of the cars going by on the highway, and the officer actually has the mic on him. Plus, Jeff isn't speaking loudly, but he asks Jeff where he's coming from, and Jeff says North Carolina. And then he asks him where his destination is, and Jeff again says North Carolina. So whatever we read about earlier, Dave and Buster's, the convention where we saw pictures, he didn't mention any of that. It was just, I came from North Carolina and I will return to North Carolina.
Yeah, and that sounds kabuki-ish as fuck. Where are you coming from, North Carolina? Where's your final destination, North Carolina? So you bopped through Florida on your way from Raleigh to Charlotte. And he obviously wasn't in condition to be more forthcoming with details that might make that sound a little less fucking shady. They've got his license plate blurred on the video, so I can't tell whether it's a North Carolina plate or not. But if he's telling them he came from North Carolina and his final destination is to go back there because that's where he lives, I don't know whether he's in his own car or not. Oh, shit. I see why they drew their guns as I take another look at the front of this video. When they've drawn him. 2 cops walk up to the car, one on either side. They've drawn the guns, and he's not in park yet. And all of a sudden, the car starts moving ahead, and you see the cops think they're about to have to tackle this, but he stops again, and I think he was trying to put it in park. But that's why both of them are on the driver's side, and they weren't real gentle when they finally got him to open the door and pulled him out of the car.
And he's lucky it's daytime and he's white. He would have been shot.
Yeah.
Car just starts rolling away when the cops are there.
Jeez.
It
wasn't moving fast, though. But anyway, whether he drove to North Carolina or whether he got a car down, how did he get a car? Who let him get a car? Who let him be wandering around on the highways at 9 o'clock in the morning, pickled? It just... if there was enough, if he was out there long enough and went far enough that there were 4 different people that called that took it upon themselves to call 911, because how many times have you been driving down the road and you see some knucklehead just doing stupid shit? But this had to be attention grabbing enough that I'm going to call 911 and I don't know anybody here.
Multiple people.
I don't have a dog in this fight. Multiple people. That's so, I mean, you know, the only thing, this is Tammy again. The only thing is that he hadn't hit anybody else yet.
Does the video getting out now make it, I don't know if easier is the right word, but does it make it more obvious that Tony Khan has to immediately cut bait, or what do you think?
Well, I would think, well, he could have fucking taken out a goddamn billboard on the side of I-95. Hey, Jacksonville Jaguars, I work for them, and I also drink and drive. He's wearing the fucking team shirt. It's like, here, Tony, open your mouth a little further so I can piss in it without standing up and aiming. What else are you going to do at this point?
Well, if any other Jeff Hardy news happens as we're recording, I'll break in and let you know. Well, Jim, we have some breaking news.
Oh, boy.
The show.
Again? He broke out. He escaped. He's on the run in a white Ford Bronco.
Tony Khan has issued a statement, or AEW, I guess, on behalf of Tony Khan, has issued a statement about Jeff Hardy. Here it is. We were able to resume contact with Jeff Hardy this afternoon.
Wait a minute, has this been translated from another language? That sounds like one of those tweets from New Japan where they run it through the translator. Sounds awkward and unwieldily worded. Go ahead.
We were able to resume contact with Jeff Hardy this afternoon. AEW does not condone Jeff's alleged behavior. We've made it clear to Jeff that we'll assist him in getting treatment for substance abuse issues, which he has indicated that he is open to receiving.
Okay.
In the interim, he is suspended without pay, and he can only return to AEW upon successfully completing treatment and maintaining his sobriety. If you or a loved one needs help, please reach out to SAMHSA, I don't want to get this wrong, SAMHSA's National Helpline, 1-800-662-HELP. Signed, Tony Khan, President and CEO, All Elite Wrestling.
Well, that's probably the most professionally that he's handled anything yet. So good for Tony and good for Jeff to be being open for it at this point. It's probably how he got asked also. I can see Tony Khan asking somebody to do something more nicely than John Laurinaitis.
I just have to see, was there a previous statement? The fact that they began the statement with, we were able to resume contact with Jeff Hardy, as if there was a previous one that said, we have nothing to say because we have no contact with Jeff Hardy.
I don't know. But at least he finished strong. Tony did.